What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Bear here today with another exciting video feature. This is probably our first tutorial of the new year. It's been kind of crazy with a lot of books coming out, and of course the Wolfen stuff's coming out here in a week or two, and I'm sure we'll get right on that and review all that stuff and kind of show you some crazy combos because there's already looking to be some pretty exciting things you can do with the Wolfen, not just from an invulnerable save standpoint, but from a really ridiculously long charge kind of standpoint too. So been crunching the numbers on all that stuff with some of my buddies, and it's a really exciting time for 40K, and I can't wait to see what else comes out for the Space Wolves. But today's tutorial is going to be on how to assemble the new Knight kit, which came out kind of fairly recently. I mean, the thing's only been around since like 2014 or something like that, like March. But the thing is, like, there's so many different options to make all of these different guys right here that sometimes it's like, man, I don't know which one to take. I don't know which one I'm going to need. The meta changes. From now more than ever, it's all about like customization and making sure that you can have the options you need when you go to play on the tabletop. You don't want to have this buster looking stuff, but you also want to like make sure that you're not like kind of locked into playing all your stuff a certain way because things change so fast, and nobody wants to get left behind. So we're going to show you the basics of basically putting these guys together. And then in the next tutorial is going to be how to magnetize it. So, and then of course we'll get into all the Wolfen stuff as well, kind of crazy. So basically, once you get it together, it's going to kind of look like this. And then from there, I kept all the armor plating and things off so I can airbrush it because that's obviously going to be a different color. But then from there, in our next tutorial, like I said, we're going to show you how to magnetize everything. And also part of like the assembly process too is like, assembling it so not only it's magnetized and you can switch things out, but also so like the arms, and everything still is fully functional, and all your gears and things, and you have all that, that great range of motion. And if you want to build out the cockpit, well, you can do that too. You keep the plate off, but there's all sorts of different options, magnetizing all your guns, and that'll be next video as well. So, but before we get to all that, I would like to invite you to stay in the trenches. Make sure you click on the link up in the top left to help support us over on Patreon and see what swag we're giving away this week, for everybody's support. And, we're basically going ad-free over there. So please click on the link, help support us going ad-free in 2016. Score yourself some swag. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out the blog, spikybitsblog.com, and head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today. So let's jump right into this week's video tutorial feature. Alright, so here it is. Just grab all your parts. Generally don't put them all in one box, so you got to dig through them like it's a big Lego bin. That is only for crazy people doing 3 of these things at a time, like me. Mistakes were obviously made. But I did feel like I was playing with Legos again, so that was always fun. So first we're going to start off with the legs themselves. They're 2 halves, very easy to put together. I love the Testor's Model Master plastic glue. You've probably seen me use it before in the past and talk about it in some of my other videos. So with the metal applicator, you really get that fine bead in there. You can do a lot of control. If you happen to use too much and get some over onto the actual part itself, you can just use a damp rag, just wipe it right away. If you're good, you'll get through it. Any hardened surface, any part of the liquid that hardens, you can just scrape off later. Then you attach it to the ankle joints, which it only goes one way because the leg is cantered, so you don't have to worry about screwing that up. It just, the little pistons like pop right in, and then you grab the individual pistons, which are on either side of it. I think right here I actually put them on wrong. There's the top notch. There's a little notch that's supposed to go in between the 2 other notches on the leg, and I messed that up in this. But I realized later that I had done that wrong, so I went back and did it. So anywho, we fixed that one pretty quick. And then you attach it to the foot. Super easy to do. They're both the same. You don't have to worry about messing that one up at all. And then it just basically locks right in, and set it down and go grab the other one, which I'm not going to show you because it's super easy, just the same. Now the next step is the little wishbone Y armor brackets that hold on the armor plating. I'm not going to show you putting on the armor plating because I'm keeping that off for airbrushing, but basically, yeah, I'm going to show you where the stuff goes and probably show you where most of the armor plates themselves go in this tutorial. And there's a couple other little gotchas. This one's specific. Those go on a certain way, so check your diagram just to be sure, so you don't mess that up. And then there's another armor plate that goes on the top. And of course, a cat. Cats always want to get up on flat surfaces when you're doing things. So, you know, I could have edited that out, but I feel like sometimes you guys watch this thing for a little cat jumping in, and well, they were certainly eager to please. So next up is the hip joint area, which is kind of like a little interface. It's super easy to do. It's a two-part system that basically the top snaps down, that you're going to see here in a second, and then the actual place where you interface with some like designs and things go lock into the back there, and then you can see that basically that hex kind of area there where the legs themselves are going to lock into, and then there's a cap that goes right on top of it to attach to the torso. Now, something I actually didn't show you in this video is once all of this is together, you can actually go inside the torso that you assemble, which will probably be the next step after this, and put a piece, just a probably like a 3/4 inch piece straight of sprue on top of that little nub right there. So, and there's another armor plate, the groin plate, so now you know where that one goes. Next up is the wires, and these attach a certain way. It's a really ingenious system. You can't really mess it up, but definitely check the instructions just to be sure. A couple dabs of glue will do you, and you'll lock it right into there. There's two wires on the back, and then some on the front as well, and there's like a little piston kind of thing that lines up. It's a little tricky. It lines up different than it looks, and I've put a bunch of these knights together, and I actually screwed it up on every one. I'm like, where does this go again? And I always trick myself and put it in the spot that it doesn't go. Then you build the top of the actual torso itself, which I was talking about. Now you can see right there that where the nub comes up underneath and will interface right over the top there. The little nub comes up through that hole, and that's where you're going to put that bracket, that little piece of sprue, to just basically glue it in with a little bit of glue, but it's plastic, so it interfaces, and at the molecular level, you get this nice solid bond. Oh, and there's two pieces on the shoulders as well. You have to assemble those separately, so don't forget those, or else you will mess up the actual ring that has to glue on for the armor plates, as well as some of the shoulder interfaces that you'll see here in a second. So just nugging this thing out, it's super easy. It all goes together well. Just make sure you trim it all up nice and neat so it goes together. Now, what I was saying about that rebar piece is that it goes right across that hole right there, and you'll see when you put the bottom into the top, that you just glue it right over that, and it only glues to the nub coming up from the legs. It does not glue into any of this interior section here. And once it's dry, you can pivot it left, right, up, down. It's got a little bit of tilt to the back and to the front, as well to the left to the right, and it also has the full 360 range of motion. A lot of this that I'm going to show you here, and this is gluing the armor plate rings on, and that's why I was like, don't forget those two parts at the bottom there, because otherwise this ring does not attach. And then the stacks themselves are just a two-part clam piece. Super easy to go together. There's no gotchas here whatsoever, as long as you grab the right piece and attach the right piece to itself, and then back onto the armor as well, or the actual carapace. So yeah, I mean, a lot of assembly here is just double checking everything. Like, I was a veteran. I've put together 7 of these now, and I still messed up the very first model I grabbed. So no matter how much you think, oh yeah, I got this, I put these together before, don't sleep on it. And also, this one has a lot of moving parts, so as you're using the plastic glue, you can still get a little bit of seepage, so you want to make sure that you go back, and you'll see a couple places in this video where I just start randomly moving things just in case they started to dry too much, and we still get that full range of movement. Like, now right there is where I just attached the legs, and you would reach down inside the carapace and glue that little rebar piece across there. Next up is the head, and this is a very, very fiddly assembly. So you're gonna glue this little nub, this little support nub, you're gonna glue around the head, but not in that little shaft area with those nubs, because that's where, and you see me going in there and wiping it away, because that's where that little piece glues in, and it pivots so you can actually move the head itself, right like that, and that range of motion right there. Very important that you try not to get any, use too much glue and get it in there so it starts locking it down. So you're gonna see me going back throughout this video, moving it around so nothing glues itself down, and you still get that full range of motion on the head. And then it's just the wiring and everything goes on like that. And you can choose whatever face mask you want for these things. I'm going to paint those separate, maybe do a couple different ones, kind of depending on how I'm feeling for each particular night. Because with 3, you can do, you know, the trip hair tights, you can have a bunch of different ones, or, you know, you can do the specific night Vanguard, or, you know, the night Gallant. You know, there's a bunch of them. And actually, I'm going to grab the instruction booklet while I'm sitting here recording this. Now you can kind of see where you're going to glue the head in to the actual interface of the neck area, right? And this is very important that you only put the little dabs of glue on those recessed areas, and then you're going to go in with this little kind of half frisbee saucer piece and lock it in there. And this is one of those other pieces, so not only am I going to move it left and right a lot like you see there, I'm also going to move it up and down to try to make sure that the glue doesn't set and I still get that full range of motion. Next up is the stubber and the melta. Very easy, it just slides right in. You don't have to glue down all the pieces, just the armor bracket there. The wishbone kind of piece that interfaces up to the holster itself just snaps together, which is really good, you know. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the design of this, because they went back and they added a lot of pieces here. So, and then there's the night shield. I left the shield off because there's 2 different ones and I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use for it. And then there I'm grabbing the head, making sure it still moves because I don't want it to lock into place. And then I'm going to basically glue down the left and right. It's that same little kind of half frisbee kind of thing to glue the night shield holder or shield mount into. I kind of don't really care if that glues itself together, but I'm still going to go back and twist it just to make sure it doesn't lock itself in. Now on the other side is basically how the stubbers or the secondary weapons lock themselves in. But with this particular thing, I'm going to magnetize those. So I'm gonna glue it down first and let it get it nice and go through the whole assembly, let it dry, and then go back and drill it out and add a magnet. And then there's the top armor piece that also glues to the assembly of the head. So look at the instruction manual, it's all very specific. I didn't show you doing the rail system here, but it definitely helps using tweezers and having a small piece of plastic off to the side to put glue on, and then using the tweezers to dab the little supports into it to attach to the carapace itself. So now we're going to glue together the AA gun assembly on the top. Really interesting, you know, upgrading things. It's very self-explanatory. There is moving parts. You want to make sure that you just glue that little spot right there. And you see I got too much glue on it, so I go back and I went back and washed it off there. So you want to make sure that the mount itself still moves, and then you glue the mount to the little rotating carapace piece right there. And we're going to magnetize all that as well in the next video, but I just wanted to get this part together. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to, you know, right there, just move the head, make sure nothing's glued down. There it is. Everything is good to go. So just stop, you know, when you complete one part, you just go back and glue it down. There you can kind of see some what I was talking about, where I would take something, I would put glue in a little palette, and then I would take tweezers and put the part into the glue itself, and then tweeze the part into where it goes, giving you a little extra control for both of the little toe cable hitches. And then I think there was like some steps and some little handheld grabbies there, and there's like a little step piece that I think goes underneath it. So this is basically gives you an idea of how to glue the rail system together. Now the rail system is a little bit more fiddly because it kind of has to attach to each other. So you want to be super careful with it and not use, you know, basically a minimum amount of glue. And then you can kind of see here where the missiles basically interface together. I'm not going to glue all of that together all the way yet, because I'm actually going to magnetize that as well. And I need to be able to get up underneath it and reinforce that bottom with some glue and probably some tape. And there I am moving the AA mount again to make sure it doesn't lock itself down. Then we're going to get to gluing the AA gun itself together, which is super easy. It's only a few parts. There's an ammo drum part, and the front actually has like a little barrel that glues together because it's notched out. So that's basically how they kind of had to do it. you know, design wise. And there you see it's a little fiddly. It'll get away from you. And then I realized when I was doing it with the tweezers, I was like, I could just use my thumb and just lock it right in there. So I just went ahead and did that. And there's the drums, and then the two pieces go together. And you want to make sure it's kind of like a slot in a hole kind of assembly kind of thing. So it goes together. It's super easy. Like, you really can't mess it up. You just want to make sure that you glue the right spots and you lock it in. You get a nice flush. You want to make sure that the two barrels line up, because there isn't a piece that locks the two barrels together down at the end. And then the armor plate I kept off, but this is basically where it goes, and it'll glue down at the bottom because I'm going to airbrush that one separately. Now you can glue all this stuff together if you're not going to airbrush it. Now it's time to put the arms together. Arms are pretty straightforward. You can't really mess this up. What you can mess up is the little piston piece that attaches from the lower arm into the top, the ring piece right there. And in this picture, I actually glued it wrong. See, another veteran mistake. I got this. I don't need to read the instructions. Why is it not going together? Oh, the stupid piston's in the wrong place. I clipped it to the wrong side. It doesn't clip to the high side. It clips to the low side. There it is. I figured it out. I'm like, I'm a big stupids. So that right there, and you can see it forms this little kind of ring. There's a ring around where it locks into the shoulder. Also, normally the lower half you glue over top of the little notch right there, but we're gonna magnetize it. So I'm gonna slice that part off. You can kind of see there me comparing it up. That is actually going to get sliced off. So we're not assembling it the conventional way. We're kind of doing it the hey, I'm going to magnetize this in a little while way. And then next up is the two-part modular weapon system for the rapid fire battle cannon, or you could get the thermal cannon, the long range melta gun. Both are very good in game, and they're very situational. So you want to make sure that, this is actually this is the Avenger Gatling cannon. See, they look so similar, it's very hard to tell them apart. So this one is also very similar. It goes together the same way, except for it has a little heavy flamer at the bottom that is its own two-part piece that you clamshell together, just like you see right there, and then it goes together. Now this will actually, the mount and the weapon itself will snap together. You don't need to magnetize it or use any complex system of tubing. But however, I am going to leave it apart, the barrel system and also the armor plate, because I'm going to paint the armor plate separate color from what I'm going to paint the metals. All this should start making sense right about now. But so this goes together pretty easy. It's actually designed on a computer, very simple kit. You just want to make sure that you get a good fill on all the seams, because you don't want a bunch of gaps in your sweet Gatling gun barrel kind of thing right there. It goes together, like I said, super easy. I just wanted to make sure I got a nice good fill. Then it locks into that armor plate, which then in itself locks right in to the back mounting system. And now you have these pistons, and this is another thing that goes together pretty easily. If you glue the front piston on and then you attach it to the back where it basically slides, and you give it a good, you kind of twist it and move it as you're going and assembling other things, it won't glue itself all the way down, and you'll be able to get that sweet range of motion that once you magnetize the top there where that hole is, you'll be able to not only twist it up and down, but twist it left and right. And then there is an armor plate that goes on the front. Not going to paint that right now. Not even going to glue it down, because we're going to paint it separate. Now the Reaper Chainsword. This thing's a really interesting kit, or a really interesting component. I mean, it's basically the size of some kits out there. It's definitely bigger than most men. There is a little piston component to it in the back. Again, you also want to twist to make sure that you're not kind of locking it in. It doesn't accidentally glue itself, but it goes into the hole on the lower arm system. And there I am cleaning up the glue that spills over. But if the glue spills over, it gets a nice little seal too. So you don't want to necessarily think that that's a bad thing, because as long as you go back and scrape down where you see right there, there's a little bit of flash that might not have gotten done. I'll go in and take care of it. But also you can do that same exact thing when this plastic glue dries. So don't be afraid that if you get a little spillage, just always go back and do a final check of all your models. Even if it's plastic, sometimes it's even good to take some soap and water with a toothbrush and just get in there and wash it all down. Even though it is plastic, it's not the resin. That way you get all the cat hairs off, you get all the, you know, chemicals off from your fingers, the oils, even, you know, glue residue, things like that you don't even think is on it have settled on it. So it's always good to get that nice clean surface before you primer it or paint it. Next up is the top, what is that? The top arm for the fist, the Thunderstrike Gauntlet. Very similar build. It's a 2-part kit that kind of just basically locks right in. We're not gonna glue, or at least I'm not gonna glue it over top of the top arm section, because I'm going to magnetize it again. So I glued this together. You should not glue that together if you don't plan on magnetizing your arms, because otherwise you will not be able to fit the top part down into that hole that has just been created. It's got a couple of different piston pieces. This one was really interesting, kind of reverse. You have to reverse squeeze it to get in there. I thought it was pretty neat. And then as you go, you just want to make sure you get that nice movement. I actually used some glue right there to kind of hold the line, but I also filled the gap that it was pretty bad. It was a deformity in a mold, so I got in there. Sometimes you can use it as a gap filler. It's great stuff. I love the Tester's plastic glue. So just make sure you wiggle everything, you get that good, so you get that good range of motion, nothing sticks, because you don't want that. Then just putting the Thunderstrike gauntlet itself together is super easy. It's got these little articulated thumbs. You just want to make sure you don't glue down in that cavity, or maybe you want to lock the thumbs in themselves. That might be okay, or the thumb and the three fingers. It's a very easy assembly. Games Workshop really made the component upgrades to this kit itself super easy to put together. I love how they took a kit that was groundbreaking, and then in and of itself, and then a year later it's just like, hey, we added all this stuff, it's so amazing, look at this thing, you know, it's crazy. So, you know, that once you get the hand together, figure out the pose you want onto the actual little mount right there, and then just glue it down. And you can tell, like, the plastic glue doesn't take that long to set. Like, you get it in there, you get it nice and neat. Sometimes you can dab it off on a paper towel, and then it's good to go. And there it is. It got that great range of motion, and it locks right in to the top part. So that was all for this tutorial.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.